Hey Uprisers, this episode of the Acoustic Uprising podcast is brought to you by the ingenious Tonewood Amp. So for those of you who have been living in a sound hole all this time, the Tonewood Amp is an acoustic effects unit that redefines the meaning of the term effects unit. It gives you all the awesome effects you want, like delay, reverb, and overdrive, with none of the baggage. No cables, no amps, pedals required. You simply secure the Tonewood Amp to the back of your guitar magnetically and let the experimentation begin. It's won a bunch of awards too. Guitar World gave it their Platinum Award for excellence, and Acoustic Guitar described it as a cutting-edge product. Head to Tonewood Amp to see more awesome videos, demos, and to purchase. Now on to the show.
It's me, it's solo guitar, it's a discipline, it's almost like a martial art.
I'm constantly looking at the instrument in a new way that's pushing my experience of it.
He took the acoustic guitar, he made it sound massive.
I guess it's a one-stop shop for all things shred.
Making an acoustic guitar into something that people weren't expecting it to be.
Like in one of those pivotal moments, I want to do that, man. I don't want to try to shred anymore.
With the acoustic, I am the band.
Yeah. All those guys, right?
Yeah.
All the experimenters, the guys who love to have fun with their instrument.
Right.
And they all quote you as the king.
Well, I'm probably the oldest.
So by virtue of your...
By virtue of my grey hair, I'm the king. No, I'm kidding.
The godfather.
Well,
the granddad.
That's nice of them to say that. I don't play in that style like Preston Reed or Don Ross. I don't play in that style, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people love it. I don't use the odd tunings that guys use, like the minor tunings and dad-gads and all that. I don't do any of that.
But you have different tunings.
I have different tunings. I travel with 3 guitars. One is tuned down a whole tone, right? It's still normal guitar tuning. But you know, the way I play fools most people. Most people, even guitar players who think they know, say, oh, you're playing in an open tuning, and I'm not. It's the way I play. I'm going for that sound. I just don't want to have to go through the rigmarole of learning how to play in that tuning, because I'm having enough trouble with normal tuning.
I think the commonality with all this is the fun. That everyone here is having fun with the instrument.
Well,
taking it to another level.
The only way you can have fun playing music is to be good enough at it to allow yourself to have fun. So the fun element comes when you put the work in. And then when you're out there flying your kite and you've got something to say and it's all good, that's when you have fun. You can't pick up the guitar and be terrible at it and have fun. You've got to get to work and earn the fun factor.
So talking of work,
Okay.
I want to ask a really, really basic question. That's
Okay.
Why do you keep coming and picking up that guitar every day? And maybe talk about the hours involved. How many hours are in the bedroom as opposed to in front of people performing?
I very rarely play in the bedroom as far as practice goes. I play in the bedroom for my daughter and for my wife, but I very rarely sit there and practice in the bedroom. I do my practice at airports, in hotel rooms, backstage. You know, they're the places I practice.
What's the ratio of performance to practice?
Oh, I'm performing nearly every night of my life. I do about 300 concerts a year. So, and then when I'm not doing concerts, I'm doing radio, TV, workshops, camps, all that sort of stuff. And I'm trying to be a writer as well. So the guitar's always in my hands, you know. I finished a long day at the camp the other day, and I went to bed early. But when I got up early, I felt like playing. So I had to go back to the camp, get my guitar and practice on my own and play for myself, because I've been playing and teaching for everybody else all day. And I suddenly had that feeling like I really wanted to play some tunes just for my own enjoyment, you know. But actually, let me just say, the truth is that I always play for myself. I want to please me first, not because I'm selfish, but because I am my own quality control. And if I'm having a good time and I think I'm playing well enough that I feel that I can really push myself, then I have a great time, you know. And if I'm having a great time on stage, I'm pretty sure the audience are having a good time too, you know.
Sure.
So the ratio of practice versus playing, well, I'm playing all the time.
You're breathing it.
Yeah. And when I'm on the road, I normally get up early and play a little in the morning, in the hope to write something.
Do you have a philosophy in life that leads through to your creativity in music?
Yeah. In all things, you must give your best. In all areas, if you look at, and I'm inspired by people who are champions, like Mohammed Ali and Rodger Federer and people like that. Those guys worked harder than everybody else. No wonder they reached the level they did, because they were willing to work harder than everybody else. They were more dedicated. And of course, they had incredible talent too, but they were willing to work harder than everybody else. So I have to take a leaf out of their book and say, well, if I want to really excel at this, and the pursuit of excellence is what's driving me, then I better put the work in, and that takes sacrifice. It means I can't spend as much time as I'd like with my family. I can't do a lot of the things that other people do and have a more kind of, there's a lot more relaxation, all that kind of stuff. I can't do that. I have to play the instrument, and I have to get good at it. That's what's driving me. And I think the two things in life that are our driving force are, number one, the pursuit of happiness. Number two, the pursuit of excellence. And I think if you get one, you might get the other.
Good advice there from Tommy Emmanuel. Cool. Do you think that genre is an adequate word for what you do?
Genre?
Yeah. Like, do you have a label that you sit into, or a box?
No, that's why record companies constantly drop me, because they didn't know how to market me, and they couldn't put me in a box. Because, look, these days I play jazz festivals, blues festivals, bluegrass festivals, country festivals, folk festivals. I play all kinds of festivals, and I'm not really one or the other. It's just music, I play everything from swing to rock and roll to jazz to blues to country and all that kind of stuff. And there's no saying it's a certain genre,
Did you defy conventional wisdom to get where you are?
No, I just took no. I never took no for an answer. Like, for instance, a lot of in the early days, in my teens, when I was hungry and needed food, and only way I could get it was to play, I went into restaurants and said, I'll play for free, but I need some food. And so they said, well, do you sing? And I said, no. And they said, well, what we need is a singer. And I said, trust me, if I play these songs, I think the people will like them. And so that was the first obstacle. The second obstacle was when I wanted to record an album of instrumental music back in the days of disco music and all that kind of stuff. Record company immediately said, there's no market for that. You may as well forget it. And I said, I'll record this stuff as cheap as possible, and I'll give you the master. You just put it, make sure that you put it out and it's got distribution. I will create the market for it. And so I did. I got them to agree to releasing it and putting it out there, and I created the market. And I was lucky along the way, because I had some great tours where I got the job as the opening act, the support act to an international artist. Two of the most important ones in that period were in 1988, John Denver, who was a big star in those days. So I was playing to anywhere between 15 and 25,000 people per show, and I came out to the audience as virtually a new artist, Musicians knew me, but the public didn't. And so they liked what I did, luckily, and they went out and bought my album. So my album, Up From Down Under, which was just a bunch of demos recorded as calling favors on people, that album debuted in the top 10. And the record company were like, wow, what's this? And from there, I got on TV a lot more, playing instrumental music, which had never been done before. Even Stevie Ray Vaughan was forced not to play an instrumental on a TV show here in Australia. He had to do Pride and Joy and sing. He wanted to play an instrumental, and they said, no, we don't allow instrumentals on TV. And so we had to break that mold, you know. And it was really between myself, Martin Taylor, and James Morrison who changed the course of that. So that was the next hurdle I had to jump through. And then, of course, I was playing pubs and clubs and trying to find a promoter who would be willing to put a concert on in a hall for an instrumentalist was unheard of as well. You know, so I came along and changed that and created the market by hand. You know, artists like me, we don't have the luxury of a hit record, a song in a movie, being a part of a hit TV show or a big movie. You know, we have to build an audience by hand, and that takes a lot of commitment. That, you know, people don't realize it. When young people meet me today in places like Germany and Holland and all that, you know, and they see I'm playing the big concert hall, and it's like, wow, where did this guy come from? They don't realize that I started out in some little bar 30 years ago in that same town, starting out with 30 people, 50 people, 100 people, 300 people, 400 people, moved to, you know what I mean? I kept coming back, and that's a very Australian thing to do, you know? We're not quitters, and we know that plugging away wins the day. That's been drummed into me since I was a kid, and that's what makes me different from a lot of other guys who, you know, as soon as I see a guy who is not willing to carry more than one guitar and doesn't want to carry an amp and just wants everything to be as easy as possible, I know he's never going to make it, because that's no commitment. That's an easy way, you know. And if you're looking for the easy way, well, don't expect to be around for too long.
Where do you think guitar is at culturally? You know, you've seen probably a rise and fall of guitar in mainstream popular.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Since 1960. I mean, I've been a professional since 1960, so it's a long time, 55 years.
Can you talk about the guitar in its pinnacle?
Oh, the guitar's gone through so many wonderful stages, you know, and it doesn't get less popular. It's more popular today than ever. The only difference is, when we started out, on the radio, you heard just as much instrumental music as you heard vocal songs, right? And that was because of, absolutely because of the Shadows and the Ventures and Duane Eddy and that. But even Duane Eddy had vocals, he had backing singers and saxophone to make his records really popular, you know? But if you look at a lot of the early Shadows songs, you still play those songs today and people light up, you know? Wonderful Land, Apache, Man of Mystery, Atlantis, all those beautiful songs that the Shadows had. My brother and I still play them from time to time, and the audience just light up when they hear them. So, you know, that era came and went, you know, and then there was the Beatles and Eric Clapton and the Rolling Stones and all that kind of stuff. And but there was always guitar there, wasn't there? Every band that you can name from that era were guitar orientated. You know, the Eagles, what are those beautiful harmony guitar parts? Little River Band was a guitar-based band. So, you know, as the rise of music, as it slowly changed, you know, along came the disco era and funky music and people like Average White Band, Earth, Wind and Fire and all that. And that was just as important too. The guitar played a big role in the rhythm and the hooks of the songs and all that stuff. And of course, if you look at the history of the acoustic guitar, it was the first guitar, you know. It was before Segovia and Fernando Sor and people like that. You know, the guitar from Spain spoke to the world, you know, but it was the great master, Segovia, Andres Segovia, who brought the guitar as a credible solo instrument or with an orchestra. So it was as important as a piano, which had never been done before, you know. And then Charlie Christian came along and took jazz guitar, made the jazz guitar a melody instrument in a big band, and that had never been done before too. And then Merle Travis came along and showed us a new way of playing kind of honky-tonk piano music on the guitar. And then, thank heavens, Chet Aitkens heard him and took it to another level, you know. I remember Chet telling me when he heard Merle Travis on the radio, he didn't know what he was doing, but he knew that that's what he wanted to do. And I had to tell him that I had the same experience. When I heard Chet Aitkens on the radio, I said, I don't know what that is, but that's what I've got to do, and I knew it. And it was like your destiny just flashed before you. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And see, the great thing is, all the greats who came before us, the giants who started all this however long ago, they actually did us the greatest service because they found and all wrote all the great songs and great arrangements. They showed us what a great song was. They showed us what a great arrangement is. They showed us what a great sound is and all that sort of stuff. And they laid it out for us. And this generation came along and said, we can have that, we can have that, we like that, we like that. But you better do something with it. Don't just take that and say, well, that was then, I'm going to be the world's greatest innovator. You know, you've got to take what you've stolen from these people and use it for the next generation. And that's what I'm trying to do.
It's funny, my next question was, are we standing on the shoulders of giants? And I think you just...
We are definitely standing on the shoulders of giants. No one is more giant in the guitar world to me than Django Reinhardt. One of the most important people in the chain of players. And, you know, the way it seems to me, the way nature seems to me to work is that nature sends a messenger, you know. So there started out to be, in blues, there was Robert Johnson and T-Bone Walker, and there was Son House and all those kind of people. And then B.B. King came along, and he was the new messenger. And then Eric Clapton came along, and he was the new messenger, you know. And so the line goes on. And there's always been a messenger, you know. And, you know, that's the wonderful thing about it, is it's not just carrying on, it's carrying the message of the blues or music or jazz or rock or whatever. There's always a messenger.
I like it, messenger. Speaking of messengers, there's one messenger that stands out for the guys like Andy McKee, Don Ross, Thomas Lee, and these folks. Mm-hmm. They see Michael Hedges as a key contributor to their...
Oh, absolutely. He is definitely the pioneer of what guys like Andy and Don and Preston and those guys.
Can you talk about why he's special?
Well, he was such an innovator. The difference is he had no one to emulate. Everybody has him to emulate now, you know? So I think that Michael Hedges came along right at a time when, you know, there'd been a line, there'd been Merle Travis, Chet Aitkens, then there was Doc Watson, and then there was Tony Rice, and, you know, and then the next player in line was really Brian Sutton, who's one of the greatest players on earth. But that was that line. The acoustic guitar needed to go another direction. And Michael Hedges certainly became that messenger. I mean, he was really different and probably people were looking at him not only in awe, but in wonder, where did he get this idea from? And people who are that kind of innovators, it's hard to say exactly where that came from. I never did see him live, and I certainly didn't know him, but I loved his music and I loved the sound of his records, especially Aerial Boundaries. So you can't point your finger and say, well, he got it from there. Michael Hedges is a mystery, and he's a riddle wrapped up in an enigma, you know, and it's so beautiful what he did. And see, someone like that comes along, and then everybody tries to emulate that, because he's shown you something different that lit a fire in you. And that's what inspiration's all about. When I was making my album Only, we walked into the studio and had a listen to it. And the first thing my producer did is put on Aerial Boundaries, so we knew what we were listening to. And then we listened to the whole album. And then we went away, had some food, came back and started recording. But I took it all in before I put anything out. Michael Hedges will always be appreciated by every guitar player who plays in that style, because maybe they wouldn't have ended up playing the way they did if it wasn't for him.
What do you think you can do alone that you can't do in a band?
I can change course in the middle of a song if I want. I can play a song in a different key tonight than the one I played it in last night, if I want. I can play tunes in different times and grooves. I can change my mind in the middle of a show and go whichever way I want. And sometimes, you know, for me personally, it's hard for me to find good accompanists. That's the thing. So I'm my own accompanist, and I can always rely on me. But playing with other players who are really good is such a joy. You know, people like Martin Taylor, Frank Vignola, and people like that I love playing with. Brian Sutton and I have a great chemistry. I've never met Tony Rice, but I've been a big fan ever since the 70s. But
if I can ask,
you know,
sorry to cut you off.
You're right.
I'm just conscious of time.
Yeah.
What can you do on an acoustic guitar that you can't do anywhere else?
Okay, well, one of the things about the acoustic guitar is it's its own orchestra. It has so many frequencies, and if you do what I do with it and try to make it sound a bit like a bass guitar, a bit like a piano, a bit like a drum, all that sort of stuff, you can create something that will people listen and totally get it and wonder where all the other instruments are. You know, it's hard to do that with the electric, you know. That's why when people say to me, why don't you play electric? I say, I do when I'm home, but no point in me carrying it on the road, because if you play electric, then you're going to have a band with you, you know. So with the acoustic, I am the band.
This guy with the lines. All right, last...
I'm trying to give you good points.
No, it's good, it's good,
Yeah.
it's great. Okay, what are the trademarks of your performance?
My performance?
Yeah.
Well, I hope my trademarks are good songs and solid arrangements, and then played with absolute 100% conviction, with everything I got. When I come onto the stage, it's a very honest experience. I'm gonna do what I really feel in that moment. What I feel is right. I'm gonna use my instincts. And I'm not going to just rely on something that, you know, here's a set list and play that show and now clock off and go. I'm never, ever going to do that. You know, every time I go on stage, it could be the last time, couldn't it? You know, I don't know. So you better give it everything. That's what you're going to get from one of my performances. And so I also try to be as open as I can and honest. Because that's something that people feel, and it's real, and people believe that. If you're playing with all your honesty as well as all your abilities, people are definitely going to feel that. And you know what? The truth is hard to resist. It's irresistible. So when you give people the honest truth, this is really me, this is what I really do, and I really mean it, people will get it. Doesn't matter whether they understand English or not. Nothing to do with it. People feel it.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Today,
Yeah, right, thank you.
This episode of the Acoustic Uprising podcast has been brought to you by the ingenious Tonewood Amp. So for those of you who have been living in a sound hole all this time, the Tonewood Amp is an acoustic effects unit that redefines the meaning of the term effects unit. It gives you all the awesome effects you want, like delay, reverb, and overdrive, with none of the baggage. No cables, no amps, pedals required. You simply secure the Tonewood Amp to the back of your guitar magnetically and let the experimentation begin. It's won a bunch of awards too. Guitar World gave it their Platinum Award for Excellence, and Acoustic Guitar described it as a cutting-edge product. Head to Tonewood Amp to see more awesome videos, demos, and to purchase.